Yeah.
And most of the time, if you say, "Hey, I watched this episode of Akashic Records," most people will be like, "Are you freaking nuts? That shit is bullshit."
Yeah.
Come on, stop.
Yeah.
What are you, woo woo? Did they have unicorns on there too? Were they rubber sage? This shit is real. Science is science. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been in a singing mood lately. I don't know.
Hit some of those high notes, man.
La 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 la. Yes, brother. There we go. So, Bev,
We just lost 5 subscribers.
yeah, we did. Listen, that's the first and last time I hit that high note on a podcast. It's a wrap, son. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. B, yo, B, how you doing today, bro?
I'm always doing good, man. Grinding it out. A little tired this morning. I woke up about an hour earlier than I had to. I just wanted to get a lot of stuff done. I want to get a lot of stuff done before my first client. You know, so reading a couple books. I had to do some work. I'm digging into another business, and just a lot of things. A lot of things. But all good, man. I love it.
Brother, that's a beautiful
controlled chaos where you have a bunch of different things going on. You just like for me, I can't concentrate on something for like more than like half hour. I'm like, all right, I gotta find something different. So I have like having like 5 or 6 things going on. I'll do like 15 minutes here, go 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here. And then by the time I come back, I have fresh thoughts all over. So I like to have multiple things going on.
So it sounds like you got a lot of things going on, and you got a lot of thoughts happening too.
A lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts.
Sometimes I wonder where thoughts come from. What's that?
Not sure if they're all good, but it's all good.
Yeah, we're gonna be free of judging. We're gonna be free of judging here. Listen, people. If this is the first time you come in here, this is the More Than Black or White podcast. And before I tell you what we do, we are free of judging here. Okay, it's free of judgment, unless it's against establishments and others. But we're free most of the time. We're free of judgment.
We're like the Planet Fitness of podcasting, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Does that mean we're for everybody? We're for everyone. Oh yeah, no judgment. Yes. Good call. It took me a while, yeah.
The hamster fell off the wheel, huh?
Man, listen, dude. I'm on day 11 of a 21-day detax.
Woo. How's that going?
Lord God, bro. Let me tell you something. I'm releasing a whole lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize there's so much stuff in my colon. I don't know how I got there. I found like a G.I. Joe fist from like back in the day. I don't know how I ate that shit, but yeah, it's out of me now, bro. No more plastic.
There you go.
It's beautiful, bro.
There you go.
I'm drinking like these damn juices all day, and yeah, like these lemonade juices and tonics. And
you're saying you're down 15 pounds already, right?
20 now.
Fuck.
20 pounds, bro, and I got 10 days left. I'm like,
Jesus.
Yeah, we're gonna do a podcast on that, people. And let's get into this before my energy's like
crashing.
Crash. Brian and I, we're tired today, but we're like, look, man, let's get this too. But listen, coming back, listen, people, if this is the first time you're joining the More Than Black or White podcast, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And thank you for subscribing. This podcast is for those that are intent on seeking solutions for their health and well-being. And the health and well-being can span many things: physical, emotional, mental, social. Man, we got spiritual. And this is to help you find your way as you're working with different professionals or as you're doing this on your own. This podcast is for you. And let me tell you something. We got something today. This is on the spiritual health and well-being, man. And mental too, right? Mental, because yo, bro.
Absolutely.
We're going to the library, bro.
That's it. Go to the library.
Going to the library. And if you're like, what the hell are you talking about, Paul? Well, I'm glad you asked. Today, we're going to talk about the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records. So disclaimer. If you're new to the spiritual realm, or if you're really unfamiliar with things like dimensions and all that stuff, it's all good. This is still going to be applicable to you. I think it's important that if you are unfamiliar with it, I think it's important that you become familiar with it, even if it's just a little bit, because I think it means a lot. And by the end of this podcast, I think you'll understand the reason we say that. Hey, Brian, can you share in the pregame, you shared a really succinct definition of what you learned about the Akashic Records. Can you share that so as we get kicked off then?
Yeah. So from the best definition that I found, that I kind of took a bunch of pieces from a lot of people and I put it together, where the Akashic Records are a concept rooted in spirituality and mysticism, often described as like the cosmic library or a universal database that contains the collective knowledge, the collective thoughts, emotions, actions, experiences, and history of every soul that has ever existed. So if it ever happened, past, present, and future, it's out there in this ethereal world, in this non-physical library.
Yes.
And you can pull from, we'll kind of get into it, but it's just almost like this cosmic intelligence.
Oh, yes, bruv.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, listen, I love what you just said there, B. I'm going to add one other word, the collective cosmic intelligence.
Love it.
That's the only word I would add, because that was freaking brilliant. People, you see why I admire this dude? Yes. Oh, by the way, like, share, and subscribe, and get a notepad. All right, because you most likely want to write some stuff down. So, B, I really appreciate what you said. And people, the Akashic Records is really important to become aware of. And I don't know if you've ever had this. Have you ever had an Akashic Records reading?
No.
Oh,
That's actually dived into this last few weeks. I was like, I got to find somebody that does it. You know anybody?
Mike Schmidt. Bruh, yo, reach out to Mike. Be like, hey, I got an Akashic. Yo, I want an Akashic record reading.
All right.
I got to share this story, bro.
Break it down. I want to hear this.
So party peoples, if you all have yet to see him, Brian and I did a podcast with a good friend of, now ours, Michael Schmidt. And Michael Schmidt and I, we've known each other for, I would say, almost like 15 years, maybe even more. And Michael, as he's learning different spiritual tactics and strategies, as he was learning them, he was like, hey, Paul, you mind if I practice, or you mind if I check this out or try this out? So I'm like, yeah, of course, man. Like, listen, I would do the same with him. So when he started learning about the Akashic Records, I was like, what is that? And he basically said what you said. He was like, it's like a universal library that has all thoughts from past, present, and future. So I was like, this is freaking interesting. So he was like, okay. And this was back in, I think my first one was in 2014. So 10 years ago now. So he was very specific about, what's your intention? What do you want to know? And I was like, I don't know. Like, when the Knicks are going to win a championship, I don't, like, bro, just write something. He was like, no. He was like, it's important for you to be intentional, because this is a lot of information. And I was like, what? All right, cool. So I gave him my birthday. I forget what else I had to give him, but I gave him my question, my birthday, and then he wrote out what the records were saying for me. So I was like, okay, I get this piece of paper. He wrote it out. I'll even take a picture and send it to you. He wrote it out, and he had, some of the messages were cryptic, and some of the messages were spot freaking on, B. And in some of the messages, I was like, what? This doesn't even make sense, bro. Like, anywho, I read it, I accepted, I applied some of the things it said. Now, here's the kicker. Several years later, I'm cleaning out my file cabinet, and I find these documents, right? And I found the first Akashic record reading. I read it again, and the stuff back then, B, that was confusing, I was like, what the heck is it talking about? All made sense. I was like, Mike, what did you, huh? So it's very fascinating, because the Akashic Records will, especially when you have someone that does readings. And people, you don't have to know someone that does readings. If you want to set the intention and the time and effort into learning, you have the ability to access as well. I just think the thing is, especially when we talk about the universal library, there's a lot of things when we have thoughts. I want you guys to be aware, when you have thoughts and when you open yourself up to thoughts, things will come. So I want to just talk about the thought forms and things like this for a second, Brian, what the heck that even means. Because if you could share, because we started talking about some of the famous or some of the prominent people in our history that all of a sudden that have had ideas, concepts being meshed in our collective that may have come from something else. So let's talk a little bit about some of the prominent figures. Like I know before we talked about Einstein and Nostradamus, but what were some of the things when you were going through this? What were some of the things that really interested you or sparked your curiosity and interest when you learned about these guys, these figures, man?
Yeah, I mean, God, it's so much. I mean, first, I think you need to dive into a little bit of quantum physics.
Yes.
And I remember when I first started diving into quantum physics, and one of the first experiences, because for me, it's like they can talk all about it, but if I don't see like an experiment or I don't see like something like a video of it showing it, it's hard for me to grasp it. I'm just not that. I'm a visual learner, right? So I remember there was an experiment done in 1801 by, I forgot the first guy's name, but his last name was Young, and it was later replicated, I think, in 1927. It was called the double slit experiment, and basically what they did was they shot these waves through a slit, and they would see how it would match up on the back wall. So fast forward a few years later, I mean, everybody knows now that there's waves and particles. And so the particles, it would be waves if you weren't looking at it. And waves is potential. Particles is basically solidified. It starts adding up in a solidified matter. So when the experimenter was actually paying attention to the particles to the waves going through, it would change the particles. When they weren't paying attention to it, it was waves. So the reality is, what you should get out of this is when you put focus on something, it actually starts creating mass. If you don't have focus on something and you're kind of wishy-washy with your thoughts, or like, wishing things would happen without any kind of intent, it kind of reminds me of like the whole like Hermeticism we were talking about, like the gender. We really got to push that male conscious energy and impregnate this subconscious. That was Hermeticism. I forgot what episode that was, but but to me, that was like a light bulb went off my head. And so it's like your reality, what you think and what you perceive in your consciousness is going to dictate your reality. And that double slit experiment really made me really was a believer in it, because it's hard because like you don't see it. Like our perception, we talked about it, like we only see like maybe like less than 1% of what's actually in our space that we think it's actually space, but it's not. And everything is like has its own dimension. There's a lot of different dimensions, a lot of different octaves. There's a lot of like things that we don't see, but all the stuff that we don't see, that's potential, which is pretty freaking fascinating. I was watching this thing on Billy Carson, dude. That guy's like, I fucking love that guy. That guy's
forbidden knowledge, baby.
And he was saying that like as humans, we are 99.9999% space. And he's like, if you take all, say, I don't know how many people there are in the world, 7.58 billion people, and you would take away all that space and create a solid form, it'd literally be like the size of a sugar cube. So it's like we're not even real. We're an illusion. So when you think about it,
I heard that, bro.
That was wild. And so if you think about it, like, and people are like, oh, the Akashic Records, oh, they're not real. They're not real. Dude, we're an illusion.
Right. It's an illusion hologram, bro.
Yeah. So
we do an episode on the holographic universe too.
Yeah.
That book. But,
it's great. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Greg Braden with the holographic effect. There's always a smaller piece and the bigger piece, and it's wild.
Oh, brother, this is what I'm talking about.
I don't know if I answered your question. I went off on a tangent there.
No, you absolutely did not, but that's okay. I like what you did because it brought the study and an example to this. It made this. It helps to make this concrete because like you and I were saying before, like there's a lot of information in this. Like people, think about this. Every single thought, vision, everything lives somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. Floating around the ether somewhere.
It's floating around.
Yeah.
So when we get inspiration, oh man, you know what? Yeah. Let me call this cat. Or you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a fresh t-shirt. I'm going to make this painting. You know what? I'm going to go to Stad and get myself a watch. I don't know. There's something that may spark you. That is something that comes from this universal light, this universal library. Now, here's the thing that's very interesting. And B, when I was going through this, and I had to process, because like you and I were talking in pregame, this is extremely vast. Yeah. So I started thinking about the Marvel universe, right? And so I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Deadpool Wolverine. But I'm like a Marvel. I like Marvel. I'm not a junkie, but I like Marvel. So Marvel's had this concept where they have the Marvel universe and different dimensions, right? So each of these characters lives in different dimensions, and they're each different. So there's characters that live in the past. There's characters that are here right now. There's characters in the future. And even Marvel, what they did is each of these timelines, they call them timelines now, right? Each of these timelines has each character. They may die, but what happens is this collective wisdom can come back to one of those people in one of the timelines. So the reason why I say this is to me, this was like the Akashic Records, because I'm like, shit, if I'm able to connect to the Akashic Records, or like you said, with intention, just like how you said, when they weren't paying attention, it's like, waves were doing whatever. As soon as I'm like, all of a sudden, everything is different, as is life, right? All is mind. We talked about that in Hermeticism, right? So the thing that's very interesting is that when we can allow ourselves to tap in, sometimes the insights that we get are sparked from something in the Akashic Records, maybe from a future version of ourselves, a past version of ourselves, whatever. And if you're thinking to yourself, like, this dude is freaking crazy, I'm off this episode, please just breathe and really think about this, okay? Because this is real. Even guys like we were talking before about Einstein and Nostradamus. All of it, like when you read about like E=mc², he came up with that like that.
Yeah. And he even says, like, I don't know where the hell that came from. I just started writing it down. You know, he wasn't even trying to about the theory of relativity. He was just like doing something else, he said, and all of a sudden it's like this popped in his head. He's like, okay, this is crazy. Let me write this down. I don't know what it is, but let me write it down.
Bro, okay. Let's pause on that for a second, right? And this is the beauty of these thought forms in the Akashic Records, because I truly believe, even though there's like a bunch of things like, yeah, here's how you access it. I think if we're intentional, we can access this.
Oh, 100%.
We can access it, right? Because notice what you said and what he was saying. He was like, oh, I was working on something else. Then, boom.
Yeah.
And people, I'll be free of guaranteeing, and I'm fairly confident that most of you that are watching this have had some thought or concept. I'm going to speak for myself, and I've disregarded it. This is crazy. This is crazy. Start writing that stuff down.
The reason you had it.
and here's the kicker. It's come to only you.
Yeah.
It's come to only you.
Well, one thing was cool that I got from the Billy Carson video was this guy, Richard Feynman. He was a scientist, and he was actually the one that discovered that in our brains, the electrons are actually receiving radio signals. So from the past and the future. And just because mind is, out of space and out of time. So, and every electron is consciousness, and every electron picks up signals. So he's like, so it's like when you have this like, wow, this is a great idea, you shouldn't take credit for it because somebody already came up with that idea out in the ether, which made you have that idea.
Exactly.
So it's like we're just downloading. We're just downloading things that come into our aura. It's kind of like almost like we talk about this a million times, but like the chakra system, with a kid from 0 to 7, they're just so easily susceptible to all the senses around us, and they're constantly just downloading information. And that's it. I think as we get older, I mean, we're always downloading. We're very easily programmed people.
Yes.
As a species. But I think the more, like you said before, like when you have intention behind something and you want to learn something and you raise your vibration, the higher your vibration is, the easier it is to, whatever you want to call it, the Akashic Records, you want to tap into like a divine intelligence, a cosmic intelligence, whatever you want to do, where you get your inspiration for. Or I know people that believe in like, spirits and everything like that, and they're guardians and they're feeding you information. But it's hard to get that information if you're vibing at such a low level. Yeah. And we kind of go back to that. Remember that we talked about that episode with the pyramid, with the emotional funnel.
Yeah.
And you vibe. I think that's super important to try to work your way up that scale, where the bottom is like the worst is like shame, the top is enlightenment. Very hard to get enlightenment in this lifetime, but you can work your way up and you can start tapping into things. There's a lot of times where like I've been in very deep meditative states, or I've been under, ayahuasca or LSD, and I'm just like I could feel my aura just pulsing, and it's like, and it's just like in a loving way. And I go in there with intentions, and every single time without fail, I come out with an answer, or I come out with a map on how to get there. Yeah. And the universe is not like going to just give you all the answers, but it gives you like a roadmap, and it's like, all right, now I showed you the way. Now get your ass moving and start doing some stuff.
Yeah.
And go ahead, bud. No. Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious, man. Like for you, when you were in that ceremony, did you have an intention?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So when you went in with the intention, easier for that information to come.
Yeah, I usually go with an intention. I'm like, all right, how do I have more love of myself? Because my ultimate goal is to leave behind is love. That's my thing. So I want to increase my love so I can help other people have more love. That makes sense. You have to work on. You have to give whatever you want to give. You have to have in you. And it's always been tough for me to, express love or feel like loved in a weird way. I'm not saying like, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, we're close enough where we talked about this before, but it's like, it's hard for me to express love.
Yeah.
So I need to give me some love so I can give it back.
Brother. Yeah. You and I are very alike on that, man. We've talked about this too. And I think it's important that, I really appreciate that you said that, because now you're making that intention. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is a perfect example. When I make that intention, and my intention is based on something like love, like something that's a higher vibration, not like, my intention is like to tell me ways I could just get back at this person.
Yeah, no. You do that under a psychedelic, especially like something like ayahuasca.
Rap done. You having a bad trip, bro. Yeah. You're having a bad ass trip. Listen,
this will be the 4 to 6 hours of your life if you're going with a negative vibe. And if anything, you'd be like, all right, how do I have empathy for this person, or how do I get past this? And how do I learn from this? Why did you put this, this person in my life? How do I, make sure this doesn't happen again? And then you usually leave there with a lot of empathy, compassion, and love, and be like, all right, I did this to myself and I asked for it.
Yes, okay.
You can have revenge on yourself, or revenge on somebody yourself, So
crazy, bro. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm curious because as we're talking about the Akashic Records and accessing it,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on how plant medicines can support someone in accessing a universal consciousness and language?
Yeah. I think if it definitely takes I've done 5 different plant medicine journeys, and every single one is different.
Yeah.
So might be times where I go there with an intention, and Mother Spirit's like, yeah, fuck your intentions. We're gonna go with what I think you need.
Yep, bro, that's the best, bro.
Like, okay, hang on tight.
Yep.
It's gonna be one of these trips.
Buckle up your chin strap.
But I think the more higher you're vibing, the easier it is to I think Mother Spirit, if you're in the psychedelics, it'll push you in the direction that you ultimately want. But sometimes you have to clean out your closet before you start adding new stuff in there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, brother, hands down. And I think part of the journey in something into like the Akashic Records is when you set an intention to, even if it's like, hey, clean out my heart so I can love. Now, from my experience with the Akashic Records, it will list, okay, here's some things you could do. Here's some things that happened in your father's lifetime. Here's what your father's saying. Here's what your mother's saying. What?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was out in Colombia and I did a few ceremonies out there, we talked about this in past episodes, and I think in the 3 out of the 4 journeys I went into, it was like you're living small, you're thinking small, and and I kept saying that. I mean, I kept hearing you have all this knowledge, you have this wisdom, you can relate to people, you need to, and you actually popped up in it, and it was like, you guys need to do something, and get out on a bigger stage, and I mean, I saw ourselves on stage doing lectures. I saw ourselves starting a video like this, and it was like, first time I was like, second time I was like, something's to it. The third time I was like, all right, I fucking get it. That's when I was like, oh, we got to do this. And I remember you lit up. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. So it's like,
let's go, bro. Especially when you told me the story behind it, I was like, when we start.
So I think it was something, and I saw myself, I saw us in the future, like being successful at this. And successful to me doesn't mean like monetary money, but it means not living small, being at peace, and just kind of trying to create something. And definitely the goal for me to start this was to, I came from basically being almost spiritually broken, going on a holistic level with all these mentors, and I'm at such peace in myself right now. I have such confidence in myself that I can do things, because I feel like I'm the median to a lot of things, and I'm very humble, because I know all the inspiration that I get, all the knowledge I'm getting from higher being, which is coming to me, and I'm putting it out there in the world. And my goal is to, get that love, spread it out, get that education, and hand it out, and hopefully to help a lot of people, because we have, not to go off on a tangent, we have, such a shitty government as far as healthcare goes and everything like that. I see people all around is dying, getting sick, and everything like that. So part of my personal legacy I want to leave behind, even if it's I help a few people out, is to get all this information out there. But I got that spark, I got that, that push to do this stuff when I was in the psychedelic realm, from what I believe was the Akashic Records, or some kind of higher form of intelligence.
Yeah.
Here we are today.
Brother, so it is, and so it is, man.
So it is, man.
Brother, oh my goodness, B. So I want to come back to one thing.
Yeah.
There's 2 things I want to dive into real quick. When you talked about in the journey, you said, I was seeing myself I was seeing us on stage,
Mm-hmm.
seeing this. People, I want to stress the fact that if you're having visions or dreams, or you go on a plant medicine journey and you see a future version of yourself, it's real. It's real. This is what I'm talking. This is what fascinates me about the Akashic Records, because again, this universal library is past, present, and future. So if there's something, if you're experiencing something of yourself in the future, of yourself in the future, it's like, okay, this is the vision. This is a reality for you.
Yeah.
And notice I said a reality for you. If your head is in the right place, this is where you can go. And you're following. And I remember you came and you were like, yo, I was like, I was amped up. I was like, with you, bro, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
So that's that future possibility. And it's up to you as the person to follow the breadcrumbs to get there.
Yeah.
Now, if you're seeing, well, my experience, and I could be completely wrong. If there's people out there that are Akashic Record experts, please put in the comment or email us and let's have a combo on this.
Man.
Yeah, come on, man. Listen, we love to learn and discuss and have combos. Come through. This is your home too. So when I notice when I'm seeing stuff in the past, it's my opportunity to see what I could do differently. Free of judging it, just like, oh, that's what happened. Oh, I get it now, bro. And when I did my plant medicine ceremony in January, that was a fascinating thing for me because it was showing me my past, present, and future. And there was even a part in my journey when I was at the Tree of Life with all my maternal ancestors. And these were ancestors, but I didn't recognize the majority of them. I'm like, you from some time frame, I don't know. But again, this is the power of this concept of the Akashic Records and universal consciousness or collective cosmic. What was the word again?
Like the cosmic conscious or something like that.
Yeah, collective cosmic consciousness. I don't know. We'll do a replay and put it back in there.
I have no idea what the hell I'm saying half the time.
Me neither. I just like to flow with it. That's why we get along so well. But I think this is important to really acknowledge because, man, and this is the second piece, the systems. Systems are hell-bent. Government. Yeah. Hell-bent on keeping you dumb and docile. Hell-bent.
No, do not want intelligent people.
No, they don't want you to know this knowledge, man.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if you say, hey, I watched this episode of Akashic Records, most people will be like, are you freaking nuts? That shit is bullshit. Yeah. Come on. Stop. Yeah. What, woo-woo? Did they have unicorns on there too? Were they on the stage? No, this shit is real. It's science. It's science. So I think it's important for us to note, like, listen, what are the ways that we can start? Like, and let's start to look at that too. Like, aside from the plant medicine journeys, let's chop it up about what are some of the things that people can do to begin to get in a state of receiving. Because I heard what you said before in that study, and I was hearing with Billy Carson. I think it was Billy. That was in the Billy. I think that was in the Billy Carson. You mentioned it was in Billy Carson's video. That video was so freaking dense. We'll put it in the show notes. But Billy Carson is the truth. If you have yet to know Billy Carson or Forbidden Knowledge, get on that junk if you're into that. But I want to talk to, like, because our brain is a receiver. Okay, is a receiver. That's why they have programming, television programming, all these things, so they can train you to think a certain way. But B, I'm curious for us to, I'd like for us to talk to, like, what are some of the things that people can start to do now to begin to settle in to receive this type of consciousness, whether it's like from a professional or you're doing it themselves, man.
Yeah, I would go to somebody first, and then I would go to somebody, and I'm definitely going to reach out to Mike, man. Now I'm pumped about that, and I would get a little bit, because you might learn maybe like 5 or 6 things about yourself during that session, and all of a sudden, like, it gets the wheel turning a little bit. Now you get the momentum going. You're like, oh, I get that, why that is, and let me kind of build off that momentum and keep going. If you don't have anybody in your area, before I get into that, does Mike do calls? Just in case a call.
Yeah.
Okay, you do a couple of calls.
Yeah, man. You're gonna call him. He's gonna ask some questions, and then he's gonna go into the records, and then he's gonna send you a document with what the meetings.
Yeah, the reason I brought up, because it might be somebody like on Montana who might be watching this that doesn't know, but it's so we have somebody that does Akashic record reading. So just drop it in the comments and you can exchange information if you want to do that. But yeah, I would definitely go with somebody. So at least gets the wheels turning, and like I don't know, maybe you get some inspiration out of it, and you'd be like, all right, maybe this is the way I am because of this. And a little spoiler alert: in a couple of weeks, we have there was a book out there I was reading on my way to Vietnam. Man, I had like a 20-hour flight one way, and so I read this book called The Journey of Souls, and Michael Newton, and he's passed away in 2015. But I reached out to the Institute to try to get somebody on there, and they're actually coming on the show on the 25th. But what he did was he had like I think it was like something like 50 years of like he'd do hypnosis on people. Yeah. And he would help people. So people would come to them were like, say like chronic hip issue, like right hip issues, like their whole life. You're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it is the way I was born. I was born kind of funky, and it kind of worked with me. And he would do like past life regressions. And I remember like one of them was like, oh yeah, you were in a war. You were like a Viking in a war, and you got a sword stuck right through your right hip, and you wind up passing away. And once that person realized, okay, this is like something from my past, and they kind of worked with them out how to let it go, pain went away. So like sometimes we, not only in this lifetime, but you carry a lot of shit over you from past lifetimes. And so, having if you can find somebody that does Akashic record reading or does like past life regressions, I think that would help you out a lot. I'm fascinated with stuff like that. I read like 3 or 4 books on that. I'm excited to have Ingrid coming on here on the 25th. Man, I'm going to be drilling her on with questions.
Ooh, bruh.
I'm so pumped. Like, yeah. So
that's gonna be an episode, man. And also another one, we got a surprise for you, Cass.
Oh boy.
In November. Oh
when that email came through that this person is coming on, man, I did my first backflip ever.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm like, I'm glad you didn't hurt yourself. God damn, that could have been a problem. If I saw your neck brace, like, hey, what are you doing, man? I attempted a backflip.
Backflip didn't work out. My head broke the fall. But raising your vibration. I forgot what video was. I think what video was it when we talked about the emotional funnel? I mean, you can Google emotional funnel.
Yeah, we talked about several. We talked about several of our episodes, bro.
Yeah, neutrality episode is really good. I think that helps you out a lot. The neutrality, remember, that's the emotion. That's like the bridge from getting into higher vibration. It separates the high to the low vibrations. It's like right in the middle. So neutrality coming with that emotion is super important. Just strive for that one at least, and then watch the video. Shameless plug, but it really helps. Or watch any video on neutrality. It doesn't have to be ours. But but try to working with somebody raising vibration, past life regression people, and everything like that.
Yeah, dude. So I just want to pull this up because this is what Brian's talking about. For people that have yet to see that episode, I just want to show this. This is the funnel that Brian's talking about that we laid out. There's you'd have to zoom in to see, but you'll notice at the bottom you see the lower vibrations, and then as you go up towards the top of the screen, you see the higher vibrations. And then you also notice, I like this as well because this has the contracted emotions and then the expanded emotions. So this is when when we were talking about neutrality, this is when this really came in. So yeah, this is a powerful piece. And one of the things I always appreciate that Brian said is that if you find yourself in one of these, it's not about trying to jump like you're in chutes and ladders and shit. You just go one rung at a time. So the example you had, if I feel shame, then I want to work to guilt.
Yeah.
Fear, I want to work to desire. So it's very interesting. Very interesting concept. I dig it. And I want and Brian, I like what you said. In a case like this, I definitely agree with you, man. I'm glad you brought that up first, because I think that's the first step, is to, yes, go seek a professional. And we're going to put Mike's information in the show notes too. Probably could have asked him first, but I think he'll be okay. And
telephone number on live, so he's all right.
Yes, 973. No, I wouldn't do that to you, Mike. Love you, Mike. Yeah, buddy.
Remember in the he's like, I don't care if people know my number. Here it is. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that's Mike, bro. He can do that shit, bro. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
Aside from and once you've seen someone about it, I think the tip that I would have is to have what I like to call a thought control practice. And what I mean by that is something that I picked up in, well, it's out there, but like I really honed in on this in Franz Barden's Initiation to Hermeneutics. And he talked about starting to practice being aware of your thoughts. Because what happens is our mind gets flooded with sensory data. And because our mind is a supercomputer, it's constantly processing. So the thoughts that you may have are it's a thought, and it's nothing you have to act on. Yet at the same time, if you're able to just see your thoughts, the thoughts that are truly meant for you, you'll notice will come through. So I know for me, like when I started really practicing this, I was getting all sorts of random thoughts. I'll be free and staying stupid. Random thoughts. And as I let them run, Brian, it was like, oh, insights started to come up. I started to receive messages rather than like try to pick up on every little thing. I was like, no, I was able to sit back and the messages that were meant for me came to me. So I think it's important that you have some sort of practice where you could just observe your thoughts. And if you want to call it meditation, that's cool. Like meditation is really like quieting the mind. I'm free of quieting the mind. The mind is a powerhouse. The mind is a powerhouse. Yeah. I'm more focused on harnessing it. So like if I can harness it, you probably see my brain get all big and shit. I'll be like, Pinky in the brain. Oh man, yeah. I used to love that show, by the way.
That's great.
Oh, it was a great show, man. We're gonna take over the world. Any Pinky in the Brain fans out there, just put in the comments below. Bless up to you. Thank you. But yeah, B, that's what I think of it. So I think those two are the most potent, because anything other than that, man, it's like, I'm gonna be free of saying, hey, go do a plant medicine, because like that may not be some people's cup of tea. If that's something that costs you later, like, yeah, give it a go. Yeah. Start easy first, because that ayahuasca, woo, child. Told you I'm in a singing mood.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. They start microdosing, man. Start microdosing. Do small doses of like mushrooms. I mean, that's another thing, but that's like really easy. Microdosing, you don't have any psychedelic effects. I did it for like 2 years. I actually just started back up last week again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was doing 1/10 of a gram for about 5 days on the Paul Stamets protocol, 5 days on, 2 days, 5 days on, 2 days off. And I stopped for about a year, and I just kind of get back into it. And now I'm doing 2/10 of a gram, and just feel good, man. It's like a happy pill, man. You just take it, and you're just like, feel, expand your consciousness. It makes you think a little deeper. Makes you think more lateral. Makes you happier. Makes you more loving. Makes you more empathetic. Passion. So nothing bad out of it. Coming from the nature, my man.
Yo, dude, I'm about to hook that up, because let me tell you something. When I'm able to really like let the crap go, that's when things are easy for me to come to. And that's one of the things I really love about what you just said. Stuff like a microdose, it helps get you out of the freaking box, man.
Yeah, definitely.
It helps get you out of the box. That's the thing too with the Akashic Records. Like, this is going to help you get out. Like, this is going to jolt. In my judgment, some of the stuff you may get in a reading, you may be like, what? How did this?
the hell? Yeah.
How did they know that, man?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the opener. That's the guess. That's the threshold. That's your gateway to something different, to something expansive, to you getting out of your box, you being able to see something completely different than you ever thought was possible.
Yeah.
Sign me up, man. God damn it. Sign me up. Shoot. Yeah, it's a wrap, man. What's the sign up form?
No, just laughing, man.
No, listen, I really I'm excited to hear what comes for you after your reading.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think I'm excited. Yeah. I'm always like trying to learn a little bit more on a deeper level, and just kind of like, what's the purpose, what's the meaning. Something will pop up, and
Yes.
I'll run with that.
Yes. Brian's gonna be like, oh, I got the message. I got the message. So this is I'm happy we got to talk about, and I consider what we went over today as an intro. Listen, people, if you want to dive further into this, YouTube, like how you're watching us on YouTube right now, type in Akashic Records. I highly recommend you check out Billy Carson. I'll put the link in the show notes. And then also Teal Swan. Teal Swan had a great, she's actually got a series on this. And I really like how she breaks things down very easily. And plus she's got a very soothing voice. So I like that as well. But like, listen, do your research. We're just here to open you up to different possibilities for you to get out of your box and achieve a different level of health and well-being. And I want to come back to what Brian was saying about even with the past life regression, is a lot of times by accessing these types of tools, these types of records, you have the ability to get answers to your dis-ease. I want you to remember that, okay? You can get answers to your dis-ease. Please believe that. If you're open and willing. So are you open and willing?
If everything else is not working, might as well. What the hell?
Well. Dude, you know what's wild? So it's crazy, right? So my former girlfriend and I, we're still pretty good friends. Well, we're friends. So she reached out to me. She said, "Hey, Paul, you may want to check out this show on Netflix called After. What's it called? Oh, Another Self." I'm like, all right, let me check out the episode real quick. Bro, the episode blew me away because it started diving into family constellations. Episode. Very similar where you're going into the past. Again, still records, still a library. You're going into the past and you're rewriting a trauma. And then in the future, guess what? Things are addressed. Things begin to get better. And are we saying, hey, everything's going to get better overnight? Absolutely not. That's not the case. We need more patience, slow and steady. Yet at the same time, you going in and addressing these things will change. It's interesting too, dude. So funny, real interesting thing before we wrap up. So before I went into my hip surgery, my therapist, and I think I've said this before, she's like, I don't know what planet she's from. I think like they brought her back from like a planet in Interstellar or some shit. But she's magical. So before I went into my surgery, her big thing, her intent was to help me clear out any residue, so that or any energetic residue. So she took me through a scenario. She took me into a past life regression. And I don't know if you remember, around that time, it was 2020 when I got my surgery. There was a lot of racial dis-ease. So I was like, interesting. So she took me into this past life. And to set this up context, I was getting surgery on both of my hips. Yet my left hip was the worst one. I thought I only had to get surgery on that, but comes to find out both my hips were sour. So she took me in this past life regression. And when she took me into this, it was crazy because when she took me in, I could hear myself panting and running. And I was running. I was a slave running from something. And I was running at night. And I didn't see where I was going. And I stepped in a ditch and I shattered my hip.
Ugh.
And I couldn't move and they caught me. And I remember I felt so much pain, bro. I felt so much pain. And I bring this up because all this stuff is real. Again, there's versions of us that live in different timelines and that have lived in different timelines. And each version of us contains wisdom. This is why Brian and I do what we do here. And this is why we bring up topics like this, because most people may not know what this is, bro.
Yeah.
So be open, be aware. Like there's certain things that could happen or that you may have access to in things like in Akashic Records that can help give you insight as to what may have been creating this disease that's now manifesting in the physical form in this lifetime. Maybe in another lifetime if you don't clear your stuff up. But listen, I just wanted to share that because listen, this is real.
Return that, man. That's fucking wild.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's freaking crazy.
So you think if you never fell in that ditch and shattered your hip, you wouldn't need double hip replacement?
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Because it all manifested in this lifetime because it was trauma. I got pulled out of my mom too quick. That was really in this lifetime, that was the seed of it. But again, that residue was still there. So it's like, okay, well, listen, this is still carrying on. So we're going to give you this and here you go.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, dude. I maybe B. I mean, like, I really think like there's been a couple other things I've experienced where like I used to have this knot in my back, like right below my scapula, like right in my thoracic region on my left side again. And it's crazy because I went into a shaman journey when I was in the shaman spiral, and I found out what was the cause of it. Like I was like the 40s, the swinging 40s or something. They do swing dancing and gangsters. Mm-hmm. And I was this gangster, and I don't know where it was, but I was a gangster, and like I was in love with this woman. I went to this place, and I'm like, yo, people look at me funny. I went out to the dock with this woman. I don't know what I was looking for, but I went out to the dock with this woman, and someone else was out there. Huh?
I know what you were looking for.
Yes, I know too, but this is a family show. So I was like, yo, I saw this dude out there, and they ambushed me, and this woman that I love, she stabbed me right here, and so I couldn't get it, and they threw me in the river. And I was like, oh shit! And once I addressed that, like that pain went away. It took like a couple weeks, but it went away. I was like, what? This is real, bro. This is real. Yeah. So people, like, share, subscribe. B and I are here like spilling our guts, sharing the wisdom. We'll listen. If you have a topic that you're like, yo, you guys are going into some stuff. Can you talk about this? Best believe we can. We'll research it. We'll have a conversation around it. A lot of stuff we have is intro. We can dive deeper if necessary. And there are professionals out there that can help you even further if this is something that calls to you. Before we wrap up, B, any last words, man? Thoughts, things that resonated?
No, man. I'm thinking about your stories, man. I'm lost of words.
Crazy, right, bro?
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's cool. Nothing else, man.
Huh?
I said nothing else, man. I appreciate everyone out there watching this. Paul said, like, share, subscribe. Show some love. Keeps us motivated. Keeps us going. We're getting more subscribers, so we're getting some really good guests coming on the show soon in the next like 3 months. We got some big names coming on. We'll give you a little teaser later on, and keep it coming, man. We appreciate the love.
We appreciate the love. What do you do, like this right here? And listen, if you're new to the channel, yeah, right here, there you go, bing, big love. And listen, if you're new to the channel, and you choose to subscribe, I guarantee there'll be no more high pitched singing. I'm just letting you know, no more high pitched singing like I did in the beginning. That was a one-time thing.
People don't believe him.
Yeah, listen, okay, maybe I'll sing baritone, but I will not sing that soprano vibe like I got into because that junk hurt my throat. So anyway, yo, so people, bless up. We appreciate you so much. B, I appreciate you so much, bro. Thank you for bringing me along on this journey, man. Bro, I love you, man. So, people, out of here. Peace.